Hello, and welcome back to the SWRA podcast, where aging, wellness, and wisdom intersect. I am your host, Maggie Lazar, and I am again delighted that you've chosen to join us today. Today is Wisdom Day, and I was thinking on my life. I did give you a small synopsis of how I came to the US, my upbringing. And in reflecting on my life, again, a way to gain wisdom is to appreciate every experience and glean something from it. So, looking back is not a bad thing as long as you don't stay stuck in the past. So, when we looked at the definition of wisdom, and I shared that earlier, it is the ability to glean from past experiences to help you tackle the current one, right? So you would say, oh, when I was going through that, that's how I coped. Therefore, I can cope with this one. But I find that another way to gain wisdom is to be tempered and measured in decision making, right? What do I mean by that? When you are faced with a situation, it it is helpful to kind of think through what is going on. So you start with an assessment. What is it that is going on in a detached way, right? Without emotions, without feeling like you have to rush through it. And you say, okay, what is going on here? And then you dissect the situation like A, B, C, D. Then you create different pockets of possibilities. And you say, okay, option one, I could do this, this, this. And then the pros and cons of that option one. If I do this, how is it going to work? Or what are the challenges? Option two, or I could do this, but what are the pros and cons? I can do this, but then I will get challenged with that. And then you go to option three, you do the same thing, right? And you have got to have the ability to be rational and not let your judgment be clouded again by your emotions. And I think when you take the step back to do the evaluation, it kind of lowers the temperature, of your emotions so that you are in a better frame of mind to come up with either option one, two, or three. The danger in that is something I always talk about is you can get caught in um, looking at so many options that, what do we call that? Paralysis of assessment and looking at things. So, and some people are like that. It takes them a long time to make a decision and you get lost in the details. That is not what I'm talking about. But I think if you take the time to assess different options, it helps you on an emotional level, but it also provides clarity. And to me, that is a way to gain wisdom. But the paralysis that you don't want to get caught in is like you're going to drag it over and over, and you're never going to come up with a decision. Have you ever been around people like that? They can't ever come up with a decision. They're just like, oh, well, if I do this, oh, how about I do that? How about I do that? Well, that would drive me absolutely crazy because my mind doesn't work like that. You don't want to be too impulsive, but you don't want to be caught in that kind of paralysis where you can't ever come up with a decision. So wisdom takes thought. It takes careful planning. But once you come up with the decision and you make that decision, you got to own it, right? You got to say, okay, I've looked at all the factors and all the situations, all the options, and I'm going with this one because of A, B, C, D. And then you own it. And if later on there are some fallouts, but you give yourself grace that you made the best decision with the information that you had. To me, that is a way to gain wisdom. Someone who is measured, who's not impulsive, has the ability to think through things and come up with a decision without getting caught in the detail forever and ever, which is not a good thing. All right. So I hope you appreciate this little thought process. So next time you need to make a decision, you give yourself time to assess and then to act, because that's the only way we go forward, isn't it? All right, sis. I hope you have a beautiful day today. God loves you. I love you. Au revoir. À la prochaine. Bye.